Today's topic is the budget deficit of the individual. According to Barron's definition of the individual consistently spend more than what they earn, and they will accumulate huge debts, which ultimately forces them to declare bankruptcy if debt cannot be serviced, if debt cannot be paid. Second takeaway is that most people in debt, remember, there's a good debt and bad debt. Good debt puts money into your pocket. Bad debt do not put money into your pocket. They take away money from your pocket. So most people in debt spend money. They spend more than what they earn. Lesson number 3. One of the reasons why people have less money to spend is because of the financial predators. Why is there less money? Because of the financial predators, the bankers and bureaucrats that are taking our money, your money, the workers' money, before I get paid, before the workers get paid. Why? The reason, their justification for taking the money, our money, the workers' money, before we get paid is most lack the financial intelligence to manage my money, to manage your money, to manage their own money. So they want that money to get to pay for the taxes, to pay for your social security, to pay for your 401k, to pay for your mortgages. So lesson number 5, key takeaway, people in the E quadrant. Again, this is the very famous quadrant. E, employee. B, big business. S, self-employed. I, investor. So the E quadrant have no control over 4 important expenses. And they are the tax. So this is the income and the expense diagram. So the expenses are taxes, social security, mortgages, and 401k. So these are 4 important expenses. The taxes and the social security, they are taken away by the financial predators called bureaucrats. The mortgage and the 401k are taken away before we even see our money by the bankers. Excuse me. And so, excuse me again. Lesson number 6. 6 key takeaway. Having an increased financial IQ, or people with increased financial IQ, have control over these 4 expenses: the taxes, the social security, the mortgage, the 401k. Now, I'm going to talk about, this is a bonus, the individual versus the expense income and expense. So for an individual, majority of us, majority of the people have money coming in through the income. And what usually happens, we have bills to pay, we have expenses to pay, mortgage, food. So that money that goes into the income goes out as an expense. So a lot of people, including I, when I came here in America, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had less money to spend, because why? Majority of my money was taken out by the bankers and by the bureaucrats in the form of taxes, social security, my 401k retirement, my mortgage to my property. Now let's take a look at the businesses. So what do they do? Now the businesses, they have income, they have expense, they have assets, and they have liabilities. Now the purpose of the income is to increase cash flow. Cash flow is king, right? So the businesses, they borrow money. So that's what we call good debt. Good debt puts money into your pocket. So what the businesses does with the money that they borrow is they buy assets. In my example, I buy properties, I buy apartments. So I borrow money from the bank and I now have assets. Now, when I have a debt, the debt, because I have a building, the government gives me depreciation. When I increase the depreciation, I get higher return of investment. So the debt provides me high depreciation, and the debt provides me high return of investment. Now, why? Because the debt, I buy properties, they're called assets. And what does my asset do? What do my apartments do? Is that they increase the income. And if I run the property correctly, that assets expense, I lower it down, therefore providing me with more cash flow. So those are the things that budget deficit of the individual. So I hope you learned something. Let me know in the comment section below what your key takeaway is for today's topic. So stay tuned for more Alka and Ria show.
Thank you, Ria. You know what? I've got some, I took a bunch of notes, and guys, I hope you took a bunch of notes. I want to talk about, you talked about the mortgage. So, you talked about debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt, right? So is mortgage part of a good debt?
It depends on what you use it for. So for example, I was an ordinary physician. I didn't have any. So I'm a business as a physician, but I was a W-2 employee. So the mortgage for my home, because it is not a business, that mortgage payment is coming from my own pocket. So I have to set aside. So let's say as a physician, I make 10,000. Okay, that's just an example. And 50% of it goes to the government in the form of taxes and Social Security fund, 401k. So now let's say I'm left with 5,000 per month. Now that 5,000, I cannot spend all of that, right? Because why? I have bills to pay, such as the mortgages. So for example, my mortgage is 2,000 because I'm a physician. I buy a big, lavish, luxury, primary home. Yeah. My mortgage will be high. So let's say it's 2,000. So 5,000 minus 2,000, I have 3,000 left. Now that 3,000 is the money I have to spend for other extracurricular activities, for paying my electric, my food, my shelter, my clothing. So in the end, that's why we have less money left as an individual. Why? Because the bureaucrats and the bankers take our money before we even see it.
Right. Okay, that explains it.
But
so, yeah.
Going back, so that was just an individual. But if your home, you use it for a business, right? For example, if you do Airbnb, if you have a business, for example, like me, I have apartment business, I get to deduct part of it. It's called a home office. So I can write off that mortgage because I do have a legitimate business. Then I can offset a part of that mortgage payment from the business of having apartments.
Right. So people that, most people that, they are in debt. They're in debt because they don't have the financial knowledge. They don't have the knowledge as to what, they need to do. And I like it when, you touched on the government, the deficit of the government and deficit of the businesses. But when it comes to individual learning, how you need to navigate you and your families, it's very difficult. So if you don't have the knowledge, and that's why people are in debt, and it's so sad. In Canada, people who, they're in debt, and yet even when they're retired at 65 years of age, they're retired, but they are in debt. And it's so sad. I was reading stats in Canada. I'm not sure about the US, probably the same. But, it's because people have not learned how to prepare for the future and what needs to happen, right? So it's sad when you look at the stats.
I agree with you. It is sad because it's never taught in school, right? So, don't get me wrong, school teach kids a lot of things,
But not financially, not financial.
Financial education, right, which is very important. That have a business. So they have in theory, but they are not the employers. You know, they are not the owners of the company. So they're all in theory, and you will get that financial education if you pursue it. It's not taught in elementary. It's not taught in high school or middle school. You can learn it in college. If you do pursue a business, you know, course, then that's when you learn it, or CPA, right? But my kids, they're 8 and 10 years old. I already teach them, you know, the basic financial education, because I believe in order for us as a unit, as our own White House, to improve our financial standing, is we've got to involve our kids already from the beginning, so that they, when they grow up, they can start earning income. They do not have to wait to finish school, graduate from college. Right? They're already earning income as a young kid, and they're more responsible in spending their own money.
Exactly. So I think, you know, that's really important. That's really the key to, you know, preparing, teaching kids at a young age to be more self-sufficient, to be more self-reliant, but also to know, to get them to learn, you know, the value of money, because I think people do not understand the value of money. And I think that is the key as well, to understanding the value. So when you know what's the value of money, you are going to be more self-sufficient, more self-reliant to how you're going to manage.
And I believe that, you know, that teaching them the value of money, just like you said, that you're inculcating in them that you have to earn. You have to earn it. It's not a privilege that you just acquire. You have to earn everything in life.
Exactly. I mean, it'd be great, you know, if it was just like given to you, and then you know, if it was, then you're not going to learn. Then you're not going to learn.
Easy come, easy go, right? Like you said,
easy come, easy go. Yes.
Right. Yes.
Easy come, easy go. So if it's like that, and you're always thinking of that mentality, easy come, easy go, well, then you're not going to learn. Then you're going to be in that part of being part of the stats of when you're retired. What do you have? Right. And you know what? That is when this value, guys, this value, this knowledge, this information that Ria is teaching is so important, because we need to be not only gaining the knowledge ourselves as adults, but then passing it on to our kids, to get them to understand what is money. You know, we always have these limiting beliefs as well. Money grows on trees, money is this and that. But then what is it truly? What do we truly need to do with it and about it? So this is where it truly is, you know, this conversation is just, you know, is relevant. And, you know, so when it comes to mortgage, why do people need to apply for a mortgage? Well, why is it necessary to have a mortgage?
Not everybody needs to apply. I know of our mentor, he prefers for us to rent versus owning, especially when you're starting out and you don't have a lot of money coming in. So people get mortgages because they want to either buy a house or they want to buy apartment business. So my question to you is, are you using it as a good debt, or are you using it as a bad debt? So try to do delayed gratification. When I came here in America, I didn't buy. I became a renter until I had more money coming in, and I invested in our first primary home. But that was not a success story. That first primary home, I lost paper money. So you've got to educate. I've got to educate, as well as you've got to educate, because it doesn't mean that if others are doing, you just go deploy that money. No, you need to learn what you need to do before you act on it. Otherwise, you're going to lose that money.
Yeah, it's true. Because for some other people, you know, their circumstances might be different. So it's not that, you know, you're going to follow that person, because whatever they're doing doing it for could be different. So my final question is the question that I just spoke to you about, the mortgage. Why do people, if you want buying a home or an investment in a property, why have a mortgage? What's the benefits of a mortgage? Why can you just not buy a home with cash? That's my question. Why can't you just buy it with cash? Why have a mortgage? What's the benefits?
There's a lot of benefits. Number one, when you have a debt, your debt is encumbered. So if you buy a property, it's a legal protection. I learned it from my mastermind. So from my legal, which is the attorney. So if you have debt in your property, for example, your property is encumbered. What that means is if somebody sues you, either because you hit somebody in a car, you had a car accident, they won't come after you if you have a lot of debt in your property. Second, why you have debt, because if you remember my diagram of assets and liabilities, the debt increases your depreciation. When you have a business, because you have a building, you have the wear and tear, you have the depreciation, which is provided to you by the government. That increases your return of investment.
Right. Okay, that's great. Ria, thank you. That's great conversation. And guys, I hope you took a lot of value from